Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Spin the Wheel. This is episode 3. Hopefully, we have gotten rid of all of our IT tech gremlins out there. How are you doing today, Rachel?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Good. So my name is Chuck Gose. I'm Senior Strategic Advisor at Social Chorus and joined by my Spin the Wheel co-host, Rachel Miller. Thanks for those who have come back. If this is your first episode, you're probably seeing our best one because we had technical issues the last time. If this is your third one, you've come in, maybe we fixed it, hopefully so. But again, I want to thank everybody. Thanks again to Social Chorus for supporting this effort. It's a fun way for us to talk about internal comms in a new way. We leave it to the wheel, which you'll see a little bit later, but we need your participation to make this all happen. So come on into the chat, whether you're on LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever you are, come on in, leave us some comments, let us know where you're coming from. But more importantly, we also want to know what are the topics that are top of mind for you. We want to know what you are concerned about, focused on, have questions about. We've had dozens over the last couple episodes of topics come in, so definitely take the time to do that. Also, share this video with others. If you're seeing this for the first time, retweet it, reshare it on LinkedIn, wherever you think it is necessary. I'm going to do a quick check here on LinkedIn and make sure we are where we should be.
Fingers crossed.
Yes, we are.
Marvelous.
Amazing.
Great.
So everybody, all those people that are on there, please come in, leave a comment, let us know you're watching. The topic that was chosen last week, we had so many great ones. I'm going to go back to my notes here. We had about town halls and TED Talks, which we answered the TED Talks. But if you're on the event page on LinkedIn, go check. Rachel and I submitted our favorite TED Talks. It's a great idea from Harriet.
That was hard to be only a few, wasn't it? We could have filled that page, I think, between us. It was a really great suggestion. It was Harriet Small who suggested that.
Yeah, it was a great one because they aren't about the world of internal comms, but they impact us as business leaders and business professionals. So keep carrying on this conversation. I think this gives us a whole other topic out there to reference. So we've got some people coming in. We've got Jason Antoine coming in from rainy Atlanta. Thank you, Jason, for chiming in. We've got friend Elizabeth Wang finally getting to join the show. Elizabeth, thanks for taking the time. Asif from Leeds, hello. How are you? So many people coming in. This is awesome to see. This is why we do this. Again, I mentioned last week, so many great topics. The wheel landed on number 7, and number 7 was suggested by Tammy Neighbor, who had a question around giving ideas on how to bring values and purpose to the forefront. And I think it brings us a whole new area to think about as we move back to what this normal world starts to look like. So Rachel, why don't you kick this off, ladies first, with what that meant to you and what's your takeaway and advice for everyone?
Sure. So love talking about values, love talking about purpose. It's two of my favorite topics. So great question from Tammy. Thank you. The question was around how companies are bringing their values and purpose right now. And when we're going through situations like we're going through right now, I think what really comes to the forefront is companies who are acting in congruence with their values. So what really sticks out is when companies have values that are around caring and being kind, and then act the complete opposite. It really jars and it's making headlines. So I was thinking about an example that I've seen where there's a company who are working in congruence with their values. And I came across a memo which was supposed to be internal comms, but it went external, as it often does, from Airbnb, from their CEO. And they actually put it out as a press release. And there was an employee memo which was talking about the unfortunate need to make 25% of their workforce redundant, to have a restructure. And in this note, and it was so lovely, I blogged yesterday about how to communicate with compassion, and I highlighted loads of it because it's a great example of a genuine leader who talks about the values in real life. They're not words on the walls, they are behaviors. And that's the golden ticket, if you like, for values, is how do you translate words on the wall into action and behaviors that your people live by and they act by. So even in the face of communicating something really dreadful, Brian Chesky, the CEO and co-founder of Airbnb, highlighted the values in explaining what was going on in the organization. So I thought that was a really interesting example. And then the second one that I thought about was Timpson, which if you go to an HR or internal comms conference here in the UK, you've probably heard Timpson talk because they are incredible. They're a high street store which they repair shoes like a cobbler and make keys. And they do so much more than that. They hire people who have come out of prison. If you're going for a job interview, they will dry clean your suit for free if you're without a job. They have a really beautiful way of working and they have really strong principles. So I saw an article that said during this pandemic, they had to furlough their employees. So if you're furloughed, you normally get 80% of your wages, and they've topped it up. So as a company, it's costing them £500,000 a week to top up their employees' salaries. So I thought that was really lovely as an example of really living and breathing your purpose and your principles and your values now in the bad times to really guide your people through and hopefully get back to better times. So that was top of mind for me when that question came in.
Yeah, I know I mentioned this, I was on a previous episode and you mentioned compassion. That one of my favorite lines that I've read, and it was from a Fast Company article, that was honesty without compassion is cruelty. So there again, that's an opportunity for leaders to be very honest. But if you're compassionate in your honesty, then you're not cruel about it. And we've talked in last episode about a leader who was not that compassionate. Go back and watch that one. We don't need to bring that back up. And we've also seen political leaders who do not seem the most compassionate when they've been communicating those things.
Yeah, we're not doing politics today, Chuck. Oh no, this is a half an hour escape for people in the UK. We're not doing politics.
You were pretty fired up on Twitter over the weekend, Rachel, about this.
I was restrained. Anyway. Oh, that was restrained.
Yes. When I thought of it, it's something that it's cliche to bring up, but it is that topic where we say, how do we bring values and mission so they're not words on a poster that people used to put up? And I don't know if people still do mission posters and value posters.
They do. They still do. But I think it needs to be real and relevant, right? It needs to be your people on the posters, not some random stock image of a person who looks like they're doing the sort of job that you do as a company. I think to be in congruence with your values, it has to be your people doing their thing if you're going to use them on the wall as posters. Yeah,
like staring off into the distance as people look. Yeah. When I heard that comment, there are a couple quotes, and I'm going to read them so I don't completely butcher them. But there's a Maya Angelou quote, which is, "When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time." And I think that's something where employees have probably had encounters with leaders that maybe they brushed off and then now are coming more to life in this crisis, because we see people at their highest levels succeeding and performing well during crises, and then we see people who aren't in it. So I think when it comes to values specifically, we need to believe people when they show us who they are. And then the other, it's not really a quote, but it's a line, is like, what do people do and how do they act when no one is watching? Like we've heard that so many times. And I also think now, like, look at how people act when people are watching. Yeah, people are tuned in. Yeah. And I'm thinking, like, for every Airbnb CEO that had that great message out there, very, very open, very honest, very compassionate, I know there are hundreds of other business leaders who had very similar conversations with their employees. It may not have been as public as that. It could have been a company of a dozen. I know one that the CEO had a conversation where he showed the employees their bank account. This is what we can do. This is what we have left. This is these are the decisions that we have to make. And it became an employer conversation. Now, that was a company of 10 or 12. You can't do that when it's a company of 500, 1,000, 10,000, 20,000. You could, but it wouldn't resonate as much. Probably wouldn't be so tangible. It's tougher then, but I think there's still the effort to be honest and open and inclusive in those conversations. And the other thing that came to mind when we heard forefront, I immediately thought of the front lines. And prior to the pandemic, I kind of cringed a little bit when I would hear like people use that term to describe employees, because it felt very warlike, talk about the front lines. But we've seen during the pandemic that it has been a challenge. It has been tough for people on that. So I've now gone back to embracing that. And you saw those businesses that really stepped up to help those employees. And to me, that's values in action. because they knew, I think in a way, some people were watching in that time. But now you've seen some of that retreat back, where it's like, okay, things aren't as bad, so we're not going to treat you as well. And I think like, oh, like those are the real values. Like they could have stepped up and said, nope, you know what? We failed. We didn't recognize what you've contributed to our company. Now we do. But they retreated back. And I thought, what a missed opportunity to really step up and show your employees what they mean to the business.
Makes my body just go, oh, when you just see that and you just think it's so close but so far, and it's so visible. It's these conversations and these examples will just keep on living. We'll keep on referring back to how companies are treating their people in this time. This is what we're going to remember, that, you know, the good, bad and the ugly, and there's a lot of bad and ugly going on at the moment. And where it's good, we need to amplify that and really hold it up and go, what is it that these companies are doing? What is it that we can learn from? There was a question in here from Meg who said, I'm curious to see, will we see companies, oh, look at this, we've got the fancy thing, I love it. Curious to see, will we see companies start to evolve their values and purpose? That's a great question. I'm curious to that, because your purpose should be the same. You know, your purpose should exist, and through any change, any crisis should live longer, and it's what you hook into. But some companies have tweaked and refined what they're doing. So, you know, we've had brewery companies, yeah, Brewdog, have changed to, that's harder to say than you think, have changed to be doing hand sanitizer. And we've had some amazing fashion brands have been producing scrubs and hand sanitizer, but their purpose will stay the same. So why they're there, you know, the why of their company exists, but actually what they do and how they do it, that's what's changed. So I wonder, I'm curious to know if anyone is changing their purpose at the moment, if you're tweaking it, if you're refining it, if you're reimagining it because the world has changed. Do let us know, do comment. I'd love to know some examples there.
Yeah, so keep the comments coming in, like this one from Kevin Schaefer, talking about having these flashbacks with the old posters and the stock photos, and please no more of that anywhere. But we do we do want to keep this this high level conversation. I wanted the same thing that Meg was talking about, was, is it an opportunity for organizations to, maybe they found a new purpose, to homage to an old movie line from The Jerk. Maybe they found a new purpose for their organization. Maybe they've redefined it in a way. And I would be curious to see too, are companies taking the time to look at their values? Have they strengthened their values as a result of either what they've done for customers or employees or the community at large around this time?
I wonder if it's been thought about, but not yet. I feel like this is a conversation which, in the frenetic pace of the last 11 weeks and longer, it's just these sorts of conversations. I love talking about values, and I try and talk about values a lot in the work that I do, but they're often an afterthought. And actually, if you bring them to the forefront, they can shape the way you work. They can shape the way that you communicate as an organization. So I would hedge a bet that it's been thought about in organizations, but maybe not brought to the forefront just yet, because we've been in this crisis mode and we're slowly starting to get into a different rhythm now, a different cadence for our internal comms, and we're stepping back a little bit in terms of pace, certainly. So maybe there's space now to think about that. I don't know. I'm curious to know what people think.
Yeah, here's an example that from Caroline, that they're strengthening the values that were already in place. And nice. For me, when this is something Rachel and you'd have talked about before, I always struggled. I was not a big mission, vision, values person, because they were so generic in a wishy-washy way. And I know we talked about this too, that I cringe when I hear companies say that like honesty is one of their values. And I'm thinking, like, did you hire liars? Like, what do we aspire? That's baseline. Like, like that's baseline
that
stuff.
Shouldn't be an aspiration, right? That shouldn't be an aspiration.
No,
we should be doing that already. Yeah,
this should be what we do. That's the core. And I think something that changed for me was when I joined Social Chorus. So we have 3 core values. It's we lead, we succeed together, and we act like owners. And you can see I knew those because I didn't even look off to the sheet. I knew those, right?
There was no written on your hand or a mug or anything. Very good.
And I think that the reason that is because they are very aspirational, but it's also what we do every day. And it's open to interpretation. So even a comment or the value we lead, it can mean a lot of different ways. Is it internally? I very much see a broadcast like this being, of leadership, leading conversation. So it's no matter what role you play in the organization, you can internalize those values and adapt them to your strengths and what you do versus feeling like, well, I can only really do 50% or 2/3 of them. The other one really doesn't apply to me. And so for me, that meant something that we can do. And we do, which, a smaller organization, not everybody can do weekly all employee meetings, but we do. We end talking with shout outs about people that align with those values. So I would like to hear from those on like, how have your organization highlighted values and purpose inside? Because I think that will give insight into others around what they can do to align it. I've heard stories around obviously aligning content with values. I think is an easy one. That's an out of the park one that we could do.
But you got to do it right. You don't just stamp it. Don't just go,
you can't. That is
here's
right.
a newsletter and we're going to shoehorn we're doing quality and mutual respect and safety, and then we're going to shoehorn stories in and stamp it up and go, here's the values. I think there's a real role for storytelling which is authentic and genuine and isn't shoehorning, because the problem when you shoehorn, I think, is the quality goes down. And
that's a great segue to this comment here from our friend Erica Goodwin. Very few people agree with Jason Antoine, so maybe he must have said something smart before. I didn't see it on there. But the values, they often are created in a vacuum. I don't think employees know where they come from, who created it, how long have they been around? Have they is this etched in stone on a corner somewhere and people have had them forever? Or
there's some dusty mouse mats somewhere in the comms cupboard where someone somewhere has come up with these things. That's so true. That's so true. I've done that in focus groups where I've asked employees, what are your values? And I get this random list of things which sound about right, but they don't know them like you did there. If they're not top of mind, people need to know them, understand them, and then act on them. If you don't know what your values are, you've got no hope of understanding them and then acting on them. So that's always a bit of a litmus test for me in terms of what is the conversation about values? Are they words on the wall or a mouse mat, or are they lived and breathed behaviors that everybody understands them and acts on them? There's some great questions in here, see.
Absolutely. One of the things that I like seeing is when, especially when we're talking about the conversation around values and communication and sharing, when communicators get out of the way and let employees, because that's when I see the real stuff. That's the cool stuff that I see happening, is when employees are able to share their stories, what they're experiencing, aligning with those values, and it's not filtered in and edited and repackaged and repurposed. It's their words. That's the good stuff. That's such a difference. Where it makes the difference. Yeah.
We know that. We know the difference as communicators. We know the difference when it feels authentic and it feels genuine, because it is. And guess what? Our employees do too. When they get this polished and perfect copy that comes out from the comms team, and it feels different. It makes my teeth go on edge when you see that really controlled and manipulated stories. Far better to open it up, far better to, in the way you were describing about social chorus and your values, what does it mean for you? How do you interpret it? How do you live it? How do you breathe it? And then our role is to curate those stories. Gold dust. Love that. That for me is good, effective internal comms.
I think this is the one, and this is my colleague Rachel at Social Chorus, where you're like, hey guys, we need a story about honesty. Who's got a good honesty story, right? That's not how we should have to do this. It should be very, very transparent for all of us.
That's a global thing right there. We've all done that. That's not just you guys.
This is one. I don't know why we're being all anonymous on this one, but here's a great example of almost 200 stories of how the staff have seen the organization change. That is truly remarkable. That's content. As a communicator, you can never curate. Well, I guess it's this curation. You never create all of that. No. This is where you can curate all those stories and let people share it in. It's awesome. So I am a huge fan of employee-generated content, letting people share what matters most to them. I know it scares the hell out of some companies, but again, you have to trust. You already trust your people to do a job, so trust them to share what matters to them, and then deal with the naysayers or.
And there's always some.
There's always somebody, right? There's always somebody.
Yeah.
Going back through here, and I'm going to just scroll through the comments and see if we can find some good ones. We see that from our friend Trudy here.
Hi, Trudy.
I use a demonstrator from the top down and back up. Yep, it has to go every way. Yep, I see everybody commenting on Advitas. Let's see, is this the Advita one? The values and practice, VIP. Nice. Great play on word there. That's good. We have our friend Alan Oram. Yesterday was Alan's birthday. Happy birthday, Alan. Belated birthday here on the show. But yes, co-creation, so important to have that be a part of it. But definitely I want you to start chiming in with topics for next week's show. What could we put on the wheel? What could we spin? Because this is too much fun for Rachel and I. There's another topic, very selfishly. There's another topic that I thought was really good that was submitted last week, was around leadership vulnerability. And I think, again, very similar to the Airbnb, probably a very vulnerable leader, willing to admit when he or she is not aware of something, or figuring things out as they go along. The great example I like to share here is a social course customer. You can go back and listen to the episode with Kathy Craig from Whirlpool. We talk about this, that Mark Bitzer is their CEO, and he answers questions from employees. Not a big lift, but for 80,000, I think, around person company, answering employee questions on video, something I think we should all inspire our leaders to do. The example video that I saw that he did was an employee asked a question, and it was something around training, and his answer was, I didn't know that happened. I didn't know that was how it worked. And I thought, not only was he honest with his answer, which again, baseline is what we're looking for here, he didn't filter the questions. He didn't just pick the ones that he knew the answers to. And on this video, which wasn't live, so they could have edited it, he was, nope, I'll go find out. I'll figure it out. And I thought,
that's so nice. Love that.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. That's the good stuff right there.
Yeah. It's okay to say you don't know the answer. It's okay to not make something up, particularly as a leader, because then your words are going to be used as, well, they said X, Y, Z. So this is the way we do things now. And it's really important, I think, to be honest, and in any role that you do, for us as communicators, not to fudge an answer, but to really say, that's a great question. Don't know the answer, but I'll commit to come back to you. No one's going to think any less of you. Making yourself vulnerable, making yourself human is to say, I don't know the answer to that, but you give that commitment to come back. Really important.
Now, Rachel, you had shared that you see just on your blog, you see what people are searching for, and there's a trend recently that you've noticed of what people are asking about.
Yeah, so it helps me. I've been writing a blog about internal comms for 11 years, and it helps me see what's top of mind for communicators. One of the ways I do that is by looking at the search terms. And over the past week, 10 days, what we're searching for is furloughed employees, how to communicate with furloughed employees, how to make people redundant, so how to communicate restructures and redundancy, and how to help leaders have difficult conversations. So these are the topics that people are searching for. So very difficult topics, very important topics, very visible topics. So it's all around having difficult conversations, helping leaders have difficult conversations. And at a time where, emotions are heightened and it's a very stressful time for many people. And I'm really interested to see that that's what we're looking for. That's what people are searching for. And I'm curious to know for people in the comments whether that's something that you're dealing with right now, if you're able to share that. And maybe we could have a discussion on a LinkedIn page in between weeks. But certainly as a temperature check for me in terms of what are people struggling with right now, what are they searching for right now. The global comms community are looking for advice and guidance on restructures, redundancies. And these are awful words, but I think that we know what we mean. It's job losses, it's people's livelihood. So we need to be sensitive. We need to be sensitive with the language. And it goes back to being human, right? It goes back to being our leaders being empathetic in the way that they're communicating, particularly.
I think I have a great topic we're going to put on the wheel for next week, Rachel.
Great.
I'm going to put it up on the screen.
Hi, John. That's not my husband, John. It's John Wheaton.
Oh, you can still say hello. Around anonymity and Q&A and surveys, that's a great topic. That's one we're going to put on the wheel, because
that's a great one.
I think there's a healthy conversation that we could have around that. So thank you, John, for submitting that one, and also on Periscope. So we're live on Periscope as well, out on Twitter.
Good to know it's working. Great.
So yeah, definitely start. We need some more topics coming in. We're coming up here toward the end of the time. I did do my best, Rachel. I was a little disappointed in how it looked on camera. This is kind of my best, what I thought was like a game show host jacket.
Oh, nice.
But it's not platy enough.
I'm liking the jackets. Like every week, I'm getting to see your wardrobe, Chuck. I'm liking the
little
jackets.
bit, little bit of wardrobe.
Should I be smarter? Should I put a jacket on next week? Should I be smart?
Do your thing. Do your thing, Rachel.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a little jealous. I was thinking about game shows, because the other night I watched Press Your Luck, which was my favorite game show as a kid, and I missed like the old Bob Barker, like real long, skinny microphone that I was trying to be cool, like hosting the game show.
Work it, Chuck. I love it. You're doing good.
That's good.
There's a question from Greg here, I think, around now that execs are paying attention to the value of employee comms, how can communicators build business cases so they can obtain budgets similar to marketers, which I thought was interesting. And Asif had a very similar comment at the start, which was around proving the value of communication. I can't remember the wording. It was right at the top. I'm going to scroll. Got his lovely comments. Thank you so much for joining in. He said, oh, we've got somebody from Argentina. From Buenos Aires. Oh, I've been to BA. It's lovely. Hi, Valeria. I can't find it. Apologies. Oh, here we go. Topic suggestion. Do comms hero types feel leaders in companies are now valuing the importance of comms and marketing? After all, they've had to rely on them more than ever during this pandemic to keep customers, colleagues, and stakeholders informed. That's an interesting one. Great topic. Thank you.
I just wrote down comms hero so we can go back and find it.
Yeah.
Go back and find it on there. All right. So we've got.
How are we doing for topics? Are we all right?
Well, we've got 3. I've got a system in my head of how we're going to make this work. I need one more.
You're just going to fill it with Duran.
Oh, here we go from Jason Antoine. How do we become BFFs with HR? And I think we could even say HR. We could say legal. We could say IT.
Great.
I'm gonna save my opinions for that for next week's show. Okay, so we've got 4 topics. We're going to break them up into like 1 through 4 is the same as 5 through 8 on here. So we'll spin the wheel. So Kristen Hancock, a lovely executive producer, can you mind bringing up the wheel for us? Mystery. I'll be the big person on the screen. I'm good. I got no shame. All right, so here we go. 1 through 4 and 5 through 8 are the same. Let's get the wheel going. What are we at here? Oh, number 1, which is anonymity and Q&A with leaders. Right. So I think that is a great topic. As you guys know, come back on the show. We'll probably end up talking about some of these other ones out there because they are such great topics. Any closing thoughts or comments from you, Rachel?
Keep on going, everybody. We're still in it. keep on going. Everyone's doing a great job. I think this is where burnout is just really starting to kick in. So keep going, keep asking for help, and be kind to yourself.
Yep, I see some people starting to hit their max a little bit on things. I know probably you and I are feeling some of that as well. So be back here, same time next week on Wednesday. Everybody, thanks for coming to Spin the Wheel. Check your marshmallows. We'll see you here next week.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks for joining us.